All right, guys, today we're talking about safety. So the first couple general safety rules that we're going to talk about are: number one, if you've got long hair, whether you're a gentleman or a lady, it needs to be pulled back. If you have a hair tie, make sure you keep your hair back while you're working, especially when we're using any of the power tools and the soldering table. So this is our general work area. You're going to see a couple different video clips of the work area. This is our soldering table. Over here to the right is our, to my right is our spray painting area. We'll also be using the hot wire cutter in this area. And anytime you're spray painting and using the hot wire cutter, you want ventilation. You want the air to be circulating because those fumes need to be taken up and out of the classroom. So this is our ventilation hood. Whenever you're working this area, you need to make sure you turn the exhaust fan on. It's the button underneath our extension cord. Okay, a couple other just general rules. If you've got long sleeves, they should be rolled up. Anything loose or dangly should be taken off, like scarves, pull strings need to be tucked in. My lanyard badge is okay down here, but if you've got any like long necklaces, they should all be taken off. So that's just some general safety to start. All right, to be a little bit more specific, some of the electrical tools that you're going to be working with our soldering station. This is a multimeter. We use this to measure voltage. You can use it to determine if your batteries are good or not. And we'll see if maybe your boat's not working and we have it plugged in with the battery, is it soldered incorrectly. So we use this as a tool. Make sure you only use it with the batteries that we're using here in class. Please don't stick it into outlets or any other surfaces anywhere else. This is a wire stripper. And we'll be using this to strip wires when we're making your circuits. It's a very handy tool. It's an electrical tool. So you'll be using this. Just make sure that, again, you're only using it for its intended purpose. When we solder, we use a couple different tools. So this is a soldering iron, and it reaches temperatures upwards of 800 degrees, so more than 800 degrees. So it's not plugged in right now, so it's okay for me to get it close to my hands, but this entire area will be hot. You do not want to touch any part of this area with your fingers or hands at all. You will get third-degree burns on your hands very quickly. So if you're not using it, don't set it down on the table. It always goes back into the soldering iron stand. So make sure your soldering iron always gets put in the stand when it's not in use. This is the solder that we use with the soldering iron. This is an alloy metal. And what we'll do is we'll use the soldering iron to heat the solder up, and that's what basically forms like a weld or a strong joint on our electrical circuit. So again, this is solder. Whenever you're using it, you want between 4 to 6 inches of the solder already sticking out so that your fingers aren't too close to that hot soldering iron. Now, another tool we can use when we're using the soldering stations is this little alligator clip stand. I sometimes call it the helping hands. At the end of this stand, there are 2 alligator clips, and we can clip your wires and your circuit together there. That way you can use 2 hands to use the solder and the soldering iron at once. You don't have to worry about burning yourself or anyone else. So that alligator stand comes in handy when it's time to do our soldering. Okay, some other tools to be aware of in this area are the hot wire cutters. So this is one hot wire cutter. You're going to be using this when it comes time to cut out the hull of your boats, the interior hull, excuse me. So this up front here is the hot wire that will get cut up, and that's what's going to heat up, and that's what's going to cut out the inside of your boat. You don't want to touch that at all. Make sure that when you pull the trigger in, and if it's plugged in, this will get really hot. Make sure you don't, stick it onto a table surface. It's only going into the styrofoam for your boat. So again, that gets above 500 degrees. The other hot wire cutter we have is back here. Now this does not have an on-off switch. As soon as you plug it in, the plug is up top here. As soon as you plug it in, this will be hot. So you need to make sure that there's nothing sitting around, and don't touch it if it's plugged in. It will burn you severely. Again, this is a hot wire cutter you'll be using to cut out the outside shape of your boats. Okay, so next safety information. Make sure that, I don't think I actually said this before, I think they were on my head the whole time. You have to keep your safety glasses on at all times in this area, whether you're soldering, using any of the machines back here, or just sanding. And if other people are working back here and all you're doing is spray painting, you still gotta wear safety glasses. So safety glasses are gonna be something you're gonna keep on yourself pretty much every day. So this is our combination sander. This is a belt sander and a disc sander. So let's talk about the disc sander first. So there's two sides to the disc sander, and when we turn the machine on, the disc is gonna spin towards me in a downward motion, and you can see the arrows that are labeled on here. You cannot use both sides. One side says stay off, and the other side says use this side. If you would place something on this side, when the disc grabs it, it'll take it and want to throw it towards the wall. So make sure you only use the right side, or the side that the disc is spinning down towards. It's the first safety rule. Second safety rule is make sure whatever you're sanding, you keep it flat on the table. Don't put it up. It should be rested flat on the table. And third safety rule, this area right here between the disc and the table is called the pinch point. Make sure you get nothing close to that pinch point, including your fingers. If your hand would somehow get close to this disc and it grabs onto your skin, it's going to want to pull your finger down in it, and that would be devastating. So make sure you keep your fingers away from that pinch point. So that's the disc sander. The belt sander here in the back is also going to move in the direction towards the wall. And you want to make sure when you're sanding, you are standing away from the direction it is going to be moving. So I would stand back here. If this is my piece of styrofoam I'm sanding with, I'm going to stand back here and sand. I don't want to stand on that side because the belt's going to be coming towards me. It's going to want to push it the other way. So you're pulling it towards you while it's moving away. So you stand back here in this general area. Now when you use this machine, you have to use the vacuum. The vacuum is located in the back. So you make sure you turn that on. Now final thing, when you turn this machine on, both will turn on at the same time. So I'm going to demonstrate that quickly. And why I want you to know that is because you don't want somebody like standing here thinking they're just leaning on this watching you, and when you turn it on they hurt themselves. So know that as soon as this turns on, this is a combination machine, both are going to turn on at the same time.